Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. This one is about another guild competition that's coming up. We've just seen an announcement about it, and this one, it more or less plays like the same as the first one, but this is more of a refresher course for those who either forget how to do these or for those who don't know how to do them at all. But there is something different about this compared to the first one where you may want to pay attention, so I will point that out. But first and foremost, what these guild competitions are, honestly, doesn't involve a union or a guild or anything like that at all. Go figure. But the competition part is very true because you are competing against other players in order to try and get up the rankings, and if you are a high enough rank, you should be able to get enough competition reward in order to be able to get this item right here, this purple bat looking thing that allows you to freely break limit any SSR item you choose. And there's also other stuff that you could possibly get as well. But first and foremost, this is based on a number of factors. So you do want your teams to be as strong as possible, to be quite honest. First and foremost, elemental advantage can play a huge role in this because it is additional damage you deal out, and every single guild composition uses damage in some shape or form, so keep that in mind. Second, it also determines who may or may not survive the fight too, so elemental advantage can play a huge role. If you can't do elemental advantage, by all means, use whatever you can, just do not go for weakness unless it's absolutely necessary. Because some players actually do have, say, they main fire, and even up against water, fire happens to do the most damage for them. That's the only time you probably should be using fire against a water enemy. Stuff like that, basically. But it does mean that your characters can get killed off pretty quickly. Second, you do need to worry about the different time limits on these events. The time limits vary, but it's really a turn limit instead of a time limit, so keep that in mind. The turn limit can determine what you may or may not be able to do in these fights, so that's something to pay attention to. Next, keep in mind that all the enemies, regardless of who they are, play the same way. So every single element of Skill Kun will be it'll play out the same way, it's just a different element. So you know one strategy, you know them all. And in the case of Skill Kun himself, you cannot kill this guy. No matter how hard you try, he is set to never have his HP go down. So that said, it is very impossible to kill him, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to do as much damage as possible. Because leading into the main thing about this event, your damage that you do will split the rankings upon two things. One is how much damage you do overall between all the elemental fights. And the second is the most damage you do in one single fight alone. That's what's going to determine your rankings. So you want to do that as much as possible. Should you meet all those conditions, you should get some very good stuff, including that break limit item for free in order to get SSR Adolins, a free star item, because only other way to get that is through either paying for it or Dragonic Eyes. So that's very hard to get. At least for most players, anyways. Now, speaking of the skill coons, now the way they set this up on this wiki, you can see all the different ones they had for DMM. We're only worried about the third one, which is a 15 turn limit, and the competition is based on the total amount of damage you do throughout the entire fight. It's not like the last one, where it's the most damage you did in one turn that really counts for that run. So keep that in mind. It's total damage throughout the entire fight, and it's for 15 turns. So this is one of the longer ones. Also keep in mind that certain days of the week these elements should be open. My suggestion to you, if you want to try and test them out on any of the weekdays, go ahead, but use Sunday as a day to really try to get your points down, because you'll be able to freely run every single element. But if you do want to pace yourself, the first 2 days of the week is Fire and Thunder. They'll be open for 2 days, which is Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday is going to be Water and Wind. Friday, Saturday is going to be Light and Darkness. Sundays everything's open, like I said. So it will have two elements open for 2 days before it moves on to the next. And then when Sunday hits, everything's open. So keep that in mind. We're not going to pay attention to any of that because that's 8th. This is what we need to see, which is 3rd. Now then, you do have to be very careful about some things in this fight. It says that its debuff resistance is somewhat high. So there's a chance it can miss even if you got advantage. Keep that in mind. You do want to still bring your own debuffing in this fight because the more defense you can put down on this enemy, the better you are. And if you somehow get attack power in there, by all means go for it. You only should really worry about attack down if you can't really survive that well. So keep that in mind. Now, the main thing is the fact that the priority is pretty much the limited action skill, which is the triggers that happen each so-called turn, and then the enemy burst. So if its orbs are full, it will waste that full orb on one of these turns. So if you time it correctly, you can indeed make it skip damage nukes. Also, if you're trying to push this thing into stun mode as quickly as possible, you need to do 3,200,000 damage. It's like 1,600,000 per each. Now, the thing is, its defense never goes up. Its resistance is rated at standard, which is a little bit higher than beginner, but you should still have a fairly good chance of debuffing it. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. First off, the triggers that it has, and these all happen once per turn. These are going to be buffs that it does to itself, and it switches its mode, making it more and more damaging as it does stuff. So that said, it can be a much higher threat. And those combo attack buffs can actually do some stuff to you if you're not careful. So, turn 3, it turns into expert mode, and it starts doing expert level damage. Me, personally, I think that's around, like, still in the triple digit range, but just shy of 1,000 or so. And it will start giving itself a double attack buff. Lasts for 2 minutes. Not too much of a problem, but if you have the means to remove it, go ahead. Turn 6, it goes into ultimate mode, and that's where the damage starts hitting 4 digits easily, so you gotta be a little bit careful of that. And then it will also do a triple attack buff on itself, also for 2 minutes. So keep in mind that if you haven't removed the first one, it's going to have 2 buffs at this point. So the 3rd trigger is the one that's going to be the problem, because that's when it goes into Ragnarok mode. It's dealing the most damage it's going to deal. Everything's going to start doing a few thousand. So definitely have high HP if you really want to try and make the most out of your team, but have a lot of attack power with them too, because this is a ranked type event. The troublesome part is that defense buff, because remember, it's damage based, and that defense buff is going to lower the damage you do. So if there's any one buff you need to remove off of this guy, it's this one. However, since this is turn limit and not time limit, keep this in mind that you can indeed not even bring somebody that can remove buffs and just wait these out. This is probably one of the times where you might actually want to go with that strategy, because say your character is like mine, where it's Soul who removes buffs. She's not that much on damage output. I rather would not bring her into the fight if need be. So that said, I would rather have my attackers come in, and when the defense up buff comes out, I wait for 2 minutes and then just not do anything. Keep in mind, this may go in league with your debuffs, so if you have the ability to reapply your debuffs, you should wait until after turn 9 happens, and then go right ahead and put them back on once the defense buff goes out. That's my suggestion to you. So if you're following all of that what I just said, you don't need to bring buff removal. Just wait it out, reapply your debuffs after it's disappeared, and there you go. Now, about its attacks, when it's doing these attacks, they sort of more or less count as triggers themselves. So it will start hurting more and more each time. So keep this one thing in mind. The first one, it will deal an AoE hit of 3,000 damage. Well, it doesn't even look like it's AoE, but either way, the important thing about this is it will disable damage cut. So there's no defense against this. The second time, it is about 3,000 random hits 5 times. This could be one of the more troublesome things to deal with because it can outright kill somebody if your health's too low. Be very, very careful of that one. Now, when it comes to the third one, this is the one that will constantly repeat when its orbs are full. And this is regardless of mode too, so keep that in mind. It's going to AoE 6,000. So be very, very careful of that. And its orbs also are 3 turns, so if you are going to be skipping some of this stuff, you need to make sure that its orbs are full when these turn activations happen for these buffs. You have a much better chance of it enraging. So if it's enraging for those, fine. If not, then it's going to really switch modes pretty quickly. But anyways, that's pretty much the gist of how these fights are going to go. Now, it even says right here that you do want to erase the defense up or just wait till it goes away and then start reapplying your defense downs. There's stuff you can get without even, like, you can go in there and supposedly not even get certain things and whatnot. So you have to make sure to actually grind this event, even if you're not doing the rankings, although you should, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if this is a ranking list for this. But the thing is, yes, it's provision information, that's not it. Okay, so the thing is, it will still give you some stuff just for participating. You can get 2,000 guild medals just out the gate from doing this. If nothing else has changed, you can get Kamihime tickets, you can get add-on orbs, you can get Dragonic Eye Shards, you can get books in order to break limit your Kamihime, you can get soul points, you can get grails. I don't think we have the EXP thing yet. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but it will eventually. There's just a lot of stuff you can get from this, so my suggestion to you is to still try to do as much as possible if you have to grind this out. This is pretty much the total score you get, whether or not it saves your rankings, because the way it saves the rankings is like, say you did 50 million in one go, then your top score is 50 million, but your total is going to be a lot higher, as in the total that you've earned. So it will take the previous ones, like say you did 10 million and 12 million and 14 million. Well, your best is 14 million, but your total is 36 million. So that's how that works. So that's the main thing about this. Your target is to try and get at least 13,000 pieces from rankings, 13,000 guild medals. That way you can still get the SSR Idoan break limit item. We pretty much call it the SSR brick for short, but it's not really shaped like a brick. That just came from the weapon ones. But that's the biggest target about this. And when it comes to actually dealing with the rewards, I have to go in-game in order to show that. So let's do that here. Okay, so actually going into the shop, what you can get from the metal exchange is more or less the same, but here's my suggestion to you based on what you may or may not be able to get. This is top priority. This Idoan break limit set for 15,000. That is top priority. It will allow you to break limit SSR Idoans, and if you have some of them like I do, where they give 100% or more, you're going to want to beef those guys up. So keep that in mind. It may also be argued that you could possibly use them for Guardians, but that more or less depends on the Idoans you have, and if you really have the patience to grind them, because the Guardians can be fully upgraded for free. So if you have enough time, if you have enough patience and just take the time to actually grind them out, you don't need to use a break limit item on Guardians, but it does speed the grind up. So it's more at your discretion if you want to be honest, but me personally, I would recommend against it unless you absolutely have to or you just really aren't that patient. But this is definitely top priority because if you get lucky with some very good gacha pulls, then you can have some very strong Eidolons. Even then, the gacha Eidolons have to be duplicated. And another common candidate used for these are the Kaisers that you can also get for Eidolon orbs. So that's something to know. These SSR accessory sets and whatnot, do not go for them. The accessory sets are never worth it, especially since now that we have the inclusion of accessory quest rank 7, you can get better accessories than these, almost guaranteed. So with some steady grinding, you'll get better than what these will even offer you, first off. Second, it's not really worth getting any of these anyways, because ever since accessory quest rank 5, I do believe, sometimes even rank 4, from what I've heard, it should guarantee an SSR drop anyways. Rank 5 allows Ancient to be found, rank 6 gives you a better chance at it, and rank 7 has an even greater chance at Ancient and even Devil. These only give normal. They're not worth. They're honestly not worth. This Grimoire set, I wouldn't say it's worth it either, because you can easily get these Grimoires from other stuff. You get a few Grimoires just from the Eidolon break limit thing. Now, the gacha tickets are where things get a little bit weird about what should and shouldn't be purchased, because, in my opinion, these are worth it, but there's a better priority with the Eidolon break limit set, because the gacha ticket set is more for those who can't really get the Eidolon break limit thing, although you can keep in mind that you can save up guild medals until you get more later down the line. But if you really feel like you're not going to get that Eidolon break limit set anytime soon, then this is the only other thing I suggest you probably get. This is a gacha ticket set, because it is 8 draws at the gacha, and one of them is SSR guaranteed. 2 of them are going to be a Kamihime weapon, so you got a very good shot at getting something good. At least something usable, at the bare minimum, at least something usable. But either way, that's probably your secondary choice, more than likely. Like I said, SSR accessory sets suck. These ones only give you half a set, and it's the lower half at that, usually. I mean, they do give tiaras, but they're still not worth. Definitely don't need to go for the grails, because you can get a lot of those throughout many events. You can even grind them out through Guardian fights, I do believe. Maybe in the Ragnarok ones. But Guardians will drop the R grails. SR grails, more or less if they show up. This is never something you really need to spend for. Now, here's where things get even worse on discrepancy, but Magic Jewels. Now, to compare, Magic Jewels can indeed expand your inventory, or you can use them for the gacha. If you're using them for the gacha, you have a better choice with the tickets, because the tickets is 8 draws for 3,000. The jewels will only give you 3 draws for the same 3,000. So, for pool's sake, it's not worth. But if you are in need of more magic jewels to expand your inventory or whatnot, maybe this could be third choice. And I say maybe because there's a lot of events that also feature magic jewels too, so keep that in mind. You can get them from logins, you can get them from daily missions, you can get them from doing different things you haven't done before, you can get them from Kamihime to do certain quests, you can get them from bonus logins. You can get magic jewels so frequently that is probably not worth. Other things that are more than likely not worth are these break limit sets down here for 500 medals. Only way I could see somebody getting these is they need a quick little pick-me-up in order to try and get some stuff. Other than that, I would say they're not worth. They really aren't. The enhancement set, definitely not. You can grind those out. You can grind those out, and it is very easy to do so. Gems, no, because there's a lot of different ways to get gems. There's quests for that. Events can feed them like candy. I mean, the Labyrinth just fed me like 1,000,000, and I'm not even done with it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you just don't need to worry about. The APBP said never do that. Gotcha pool for those. Events feed them, all that. This is the only other one that may objectively be worth it. The soul point set. It is pretty cheap to give you a slight handful of them, but really up to you. Excuse me. To put this in perspective, though, by the time you get the Idolin one, I mean, by the time you get the Idolin break limit set, you could get roughly, I would say, it's close to 75 purchases of these, so that's a lot of soul points. But quite frankly, events feed them too. Rank ups can feed normal soul points anyway. Special, good luck on getting those. That's the only real argument thing about it, is the special soul points, but they feed you so little of that. This is more if you just feel like you have medals to spare. Otherwise, this is one of the lowest priorities. If you ask me, it's still got a higher priority than the Magic Jewels. So, easily said to summarize that. I don't break limit set as priority. If not, go gacha tickets. If not, go to soul points or the Magic Jewels. Everything else is not worth. Anyways, that's all for this. More of this is going to come soon because, of course, I'm going to record it. I love recording some of my runs on that, especially against the dark enemies because I'm a light main. But, like I said, try to do your best in this. This is ranking based, but I think it's top 1,000 that will let you into this. So you can get top 1,000. I do believe it will let you into the guild medals. But anyway, well, the high amount of guild medals, I should say, the highest payouts. But either way, try your best. This event's not exactly easy, but it's at the same time, it's something to really try and test out how far your teams really have gotten. You can come up with different strategies and whatnot. And honestly, the soul you use can influence it quite a lot as well. But keep in mind that some souls may not be better than others. Like, for instance, it was highly valued that Shingen and Herc were some of the best souls. They weren't even the top ones in the previous guild competition. That actually went to somebody called Siegfried, who's a stun damage nuker. All because it was damage in one turn, not damage over the entire thing. Now that it's based over the entire thing, I'm pretty sure Shingen is probably the most likely candidate for best soul to use for this. Because it's definitely going to be based on how fast you can build up your bursts. So you can just keep letting bursts off one after the other. But anyways, that's all for this. More is going to come soon, and take care.